So imagine launching a brand new window treatment franchise location in a city where you don't really know a lot of people and you need your first 10 appointments like yesterday. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on how we did exactly that, how we got our first 10 appointments during our very first 2 weeks of business. Spoiler alert, it wasn't some slick ad funnel, it wasn't a ton of marketing spend. It was just a scrappy mix of friends, flyers, favors, and a few flops. But let's dive in. So, welcome back to the Blueprint to Business, the channel where we share real world lessons from building and scaling our home services business. We're out on the front lines of our business and in the trenches. I'm Amber Hoffman, co owner of a window treatment franchise in Boulder, Colorado, and co owner of the FS agency. If you're a first time home services business owner, hit subscribe. You don't want to miss an episode. So, where do we get those first 10 appointments from? Appointment one was with close friends. They were actually our neighbors who lived across the street from us when we were in Bali and now live down the street from us here in Colorado. And it was two of the most complicated window covering projects, drapery and shutters. So they are the most technical products we sell, but ripping off that Band-Aid was actually 2 weeks before we officially opened, really gave our design consultant as well as myself priceless hands-on experience and calmed my nerves just a little. Next, we tried traditional print, a 1/3 page ad in a glossy local neighborhood magazine. Costly, but we thought, why not? The franchise encouraged us to spend a certain amount of marketing budget in our first 3 months, and we thought this would be a great way to get started. It produced exactly one lead and one sale. It was a single window covering for $500, which is roughly 1/10 of our average order value. The total cost for the print budget was about $1,000 a month. Total ROI, well, let's just call it tuition. Lead number three came from Angie's leads, but not the way people usually expect. A local Angie's employee actually saw our new profile come across her dashboard and phoned us because two other companies she reached out to never answered their phone. So, lesson there, answer the phone. Sometimes the best sales hack is just being responsive. And because we're part of a franchise system, neighboring owners had been handling inquiries in our territory before we even opened. So lead number four was one they forwarded once our doors were officially open. Great perk to being new, but not something you can scale. So that finished week one. 3 appointments on the books, plus the one appointment with our friends before we even opened. Not exactly the floodgate we had hoped for, and obviously none of these channels looked sustainably repeatable yet. Week two kicked off with a Valpak mailer lead. Now, we spent about $11,000 over 6 months with Valpak. It was a combination of one or two blue envelopes, some individual postcard mailers, and then we did 500 new mover postcards each month for 6 months. The grand total from the $11,000 of ad spend, 4 appointments, and one sale. The first call that we got from one of these mailers was just actually a blind repair request 30 miles up a mountain. So no sale, but a great field trip for the consultant. This was, in my opinion, a little bit of an expensive lesson. A direct mail can work, but you want to make sure you're testing small and you're measuring ruthlessly. I think the effectiveness of mailers tends to be different based on your geography, what state you're in, as well as what home service you provide. For us, it just was not something that we were going to continue doing. So, lead number six of our first 10 proves that relationships matter. Our design consultant's husband mentioned us to a coworker whose mom needed automated shades, if you can follow that. The result, $3,000, 6 motorized window shades. It was really our first meaningful revenue from outside our personal friend bubble. Number seven was some great ROI from a $25 networking event. So Eric is a business development ninja. He's out everywhere all the time. And he signed us up for a $25 tabletop networking night. Think speed dating, but for entrepreneurs. One attendee wanted outdoor shades for his pergola. That deal turned into 4 large exterior screens, and it's a showcase install we still brag about and use in marketing. But here's honesty time. I don't actually know where lead 8 or 9 came from. Our original CRM and how it was set up really just defaulted to super broad buckets like organic versus paid. And at that time, we hadn't yet built the habit of grabbing that granular detail. For example, which chamber, who specifically from the chamber sent us that business. Those blind spots eventually drove us to overhaul our tracking process to make it more granular than what our CRM defaults to. Lead 10 also came from that same magazine, that same print ad I mentioned earlier, but it never closed. So 2 leads total from 3 months of print spend just really made us very skeptical about print advertising. So what are the takeaways here and what are the tactical lessons about how to get your first handful of appointments? Really, the biggest thing is diversify early, but measure fast. Trying 5 or 6 channels quickly showed us what didn't scale, like print magazines and Valpak, and what could, networking, personal referrals. We also make sure that we're tracking every touch point. We now log source, event, refer name, conversation notes. This discipline with your data prevents these mystery leads and also helps you to spend smarter on your future advertising. Also, speed beats spend. We won lead 3 simply by answering the phone. Responsiveness costs $0 and often outperforms big ad budgets. We also started to leverage our franchising community networks. Franchise neighbors, chamber peers, they've all sort of become built-in referral engines, and that's much cheaper than paid ads. The return on investment isn't just dollars. That mountain repair only trip up the mountain and our Bali friends, it built confidence. We've been able to collect testimonials and it helped to train our team, even though there was a little bit lower revenue in those first few weeks than I had anticipated. So, what were our budget and results in those first 2 weeks? We invested $11,000 in mailers for 1 sale. We spent $1,000 a month for 3 months in a print magazine for a $500 sale. But we spent $25 and a networking hour for a marquee project that was a $6,000 sale. So it's always important to compare cost per closed deal. It's not just cost per lead. We've also had discussions with some digital marketing agencies recently that have talked about return on ad spend. And I don't necessarily agree on how they do their calculations because they don't take into account what comes out of that revenue and what your cost of goods sold are. But we'll talk about that in a future video. In the meantime, what's coming up next? What I'm asking from you is hit that subscribe button so that you can always be notified when we have new videos coming out, but also make a comment below. Let me know, how did you get some of your first leads? How are you tracking your referrals? We want to hear from you. Ask any question you want down below in the comments, and we might feature it in an upcoming episode. Until then, the goal is momentum, not perfection. Track where your referrals are coming from, track where your revenue is coming from. And then in the future, we'll break down how we've been able to grow from these 10 appointments to having a steady stream of appointments, leads, revenue, and closed deals, primarily using SEO and our Google business profile to help drive those leads. So subscribe, drop a comment with your most surprising first lead story or any other questions that we can answer. Until next time, keep building.